Hi friends, welcome back to i-TUTOR NCERT series. Today we will be discussing Class 9 Geography NCERT Chapter 2 Physical Features of India. Let's begin. Our country has practically all major physical features of the earth, that is mountains, plains, deserts, plateaus and islands. India is a large landmass formed during different geological periods which has influenced her relief. Besides geological formations, a number of processes such as weathering, erosion and deposition have created and modified the relief to its present form. Earth scientists have attempted to explain the formation of physical features with the help of some theories based on certain evidences. Okay, so one such theory is theory of plate tectonics. Okay, such theory is theory of plate tectonics. According to this theory, the crust, that is the upper part, we know the earth is divided into three. First one is crust, then mantle and core. So the upper part is called crust. According to this theory, the crust of the earth has been formed out of 7 major and some minor plates. Okay, so the upper part, that is the crust of the earth has been formed out of 7 major and some minor plates. Okay, so that they are made up of, or they are formed out of plates. Okay, that consist of 7 major and some minor plates. The movement of the plates result in the building up of stress within the plates and the continental rocks above, leading to folding, faulting and volcanic activity. Okay, so the movements of these plates and they resulted in the building up of stress within the plates. Okay, so they made or they result the building up of stress within the plates and the continental rocks above, leading to faulting, folding and volcanic activity. Now, broadly, these plate movements are classified into 3 types. Okay, so these movements or these plate movements are classified into 3 types. The first one is convergent. Okay, look at this. Well, some plates come towards, each other and form convergent boundary. Okay, look at this picture. These are 2 plates. Okay, this is first plate and this is second plate. So these 2 plates are converging. They came together. Okay, so these plates are come towards each other and this is called convergent boundary. Okay, so this is called a convergent boundary. Next one, some plates move away from each other. Okay, some plates move away from each other and form divergent boundary. Okay, look at this picture. Here, this is the first plate and this is the second plate. They are move away from each other. So this is called a divergent boundary. Now, in the event of 2 plates coming together, they may either collide and crumble or one may slide under another. Okay, so look at this picture. There is 2 plates. This is first one, this is second one. So when the 2 plates coming together, they may collide each other. Okay, so they may either collide and crumble or one may slide under the another. Okay, look at this. Here the one is slide under the another. Okay, so this movement or this is called a transform boundary. Okay, so this is called a transform boundary. At times they may also move horizontally past each other and form transform boundary. The movements of these plates have changed the position and size of the continents over millions of years. Such movements have also influenced the evolution at the present landform features. Now, the oldest landmass, that is the peninsular part, was a part of the Gondwana land. The Gondwana land included India, Australia, South Africa and South America as one single landmass. Okay, so what is Gondwana land? The Gondwana land include India, Australia, South Africa and South America as a single landmass. The conventional current split this crust into a number of pieces. Okay, so we know about the conventional currents. So these conventional currents split the crust into number of pieces and thus leading to the drifting of the Indo-Australian plate after being separated from the Gondwana land towards the north. Okay, so the Indo-Australian plates after being separated from the Gondwana lands move towards the north. The northward drift resulted in the collision of the plate with much larger Eurasian plate. Okay, so this Indo-Australian plate, this moved northward and this collided with the Eurasian plate. Due to this collision, the sedimentary rocks which were accumulated in the geosyncline known as Tethys were folded to form the mountain system of Western Asia and Himalaya. Okay, so this is how the Himalaya forms, how the Indo-Australian plate moves northward and this collide with the Eurasian plate. Okay, now the Himalayan uplift out of the Tethys Sea and subsidence of the northern flank of the peninsular plateau resulted in the formation of a large basin. In due course of time, this depression gradually got filled with the deposition of sediments by the rivers flowing from the mountains in the north and the peninsular plateau in the south. A flat land of extensive alluvial deposit led to the formation of the northern plains of India. Okay, so this is the formation of plains or the northern plains. The land of India displays great physical variation. Geologically, the peninsular plateau consists of one of the ancient landmass of the Earth's surface. It was supposed to be one of the most stable land blocks. The Himalayas and the northern plains are the most recent landforms. From the viewpoint of geology, Himalayan mountains form an unstable zone. Himalayan mountains form an unstable zone. The whole mountain system of Himalaya represents a very youthful topography with high peaks and deep valleys. Then it also include fast flowing rivers. Now, the northern plains are formed of alluvial deposit. The peninsular plateau is composed of igneous and metamorphic rocks with gently rising hills and wide valleys. Okay, now let's discuss detail about this. The major physiographic divisions. Okay, so the physiography of India can be grouped under the following physiographic divisions, that is the 6 types. The first one is the Himalayan mountains, then the northern plains, the peninsular plateau, then the Indian desert, then the coastal plain, and finally the islands. So moving forward, the Himalayan mountains. The Himalayas geologically young and structurally fold mountain. So Himalayas are young and fold mountain. Okay, they stretch over the northern borders of India. So Himalayas are stretched over the northern borders of the India. These mountain ranges run in a west-east direction from the Indus to Brahmaputra. The Himalayas represent the loftiest and one of the most rugged mountain barriers of the world. They form an arc which covers a distance about 2,400 km. The width varies from 400 km in Kashmir to 150 km in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, so Himalayas are young and structurally fold mountains. These mountain ranges run in west to east direction, that is from Indus to Brahmaputra. Then they cover a 400 km in Kashmir and 150 km in Arunachal Pradesh. Now, the altitudinal variations are greater in the eastern half than those in the western half. The Himalaya consists of 3 parallel ranges. So, the Himalayas consist of 3 parallel ranges. Look at this picture, you can see the 3 parallel ranges. This is the first one, then this is second, and this is the final. Now, a number of valleys lies between these ranges. The northernmost range is known as the Great or Inner Himalaya or the Himadri. Okay, so the northernmost part or this part, this is known as the Great Himalaya or Inner Himalaya or Himadri. Okay, so we already told that Himalaya consists of 3 parallel ranges. The first one is Great Himalaya or Inner Himalaya or Himadri. This is the most continuous range consisting of the loftiest peaks with an average height of 6,000 meters. Okay, so these are most continuous range and this consists of many mountains or many peaks and they have an average height of 6,000 meters. Okay, it contains all the prominent Himalayan peaks. So the Himadri contain or the Inner Himalaya contain all the prominent Himalayan peaks. The folds of Great Himalayas are asymmetrical in nature. The core of this part of Himalaya is composed of granite. Okay, so the core of this part is composed of the granite. It is perennially snowbound and a number of glaciers descend from this range. The range lying to the south of Himadri forms the most rugged mountain system and is known as Himachal or Lesser Himalaya. Okay, so the second one is called Himachal or Lesser Himalaya, that is situated in the south of the Himadri. Okay, so first range is Himadri or Inner Himalayas, or it's also called Great Himalaya. And what is the specialty? They are most continuous range and it consists of loftiest peaks and their average height is 6,000 meters. Okay, and the core part of the Himalaya is composed of granite. Now the second part is Himachal or Lesser Himalaya. They are situated on the south of the Himadri. Now the ranges are mainly composed of highly compressed and altered rocks. The altitude varies between 3,700 and 4,500 meters and the average width is of 50 kilometers. Okay, so the average width of Himalaya, Lesser Himalaya or Himachal is 50 kilometers. While the Pir Panjal ranges forms the longest and the most important range. Okay, the Dhauladhar and the Mahabharat ranges are also prominent one. So these are the important ranges in this area or Himachal or the Lesser Himalaya. What are they? The first one is Pir Panjal range, then Dhauladhar, then Mahabharat ranges. So these are prominent ranges in this area. This range consists of famous valley of Kashmir, the Kangra and Kulu valley in Himachal Pradesh. Okay, so these consist of the famous valleys like Kashmir, Kangra and Kulu valley, that is in Himachal Pradesh. This region is well known for its hill station. The outermost range of the Himalaya is called Shivalik. Okay, so the final one is called Shivalik. So we already discussed about the Himachal. First one is Himadri and second one is Himachal and the final one is Shivalik. Okay, that is the southernmost part or the outermost range. They extended over a width of 10 to 50 km and have an altitude varying between 900 and 1100 meters. These ranges are composed of unconsolidated sediments brought down by rivers from the main Himalayan ranges located further north. These valleys are covered with thick gravel and alluvium. Okay, so these valleys are covered with thick gravel and alluvium. The longitudinal valley lying between Lesser Himalaya and Shivaliks are known as dunes. Okay, so the longitudinal valleys that lying between the Lesser Himalaya and Shivalik. Okay, so this area, this is known as dunes. Okay, have you heard about the Dara Dune and Kotli Dune? So these are some dunes. Example for some dunes: Dara Dune, Kotli Dune, Patli Dunes. So these are some example for dunes. Now, besides the longitudinal divisions, the Himalayas have been divided on the basis of regions from west to east. So first one we discussed about the longitudinal division. So according to the longitude, the Himalayas can be classified into three types, or there are three parallel ranges. The first one is Himadri or Inner Himalaya or Great Himalaya. So what is the specialty? They are most continuous ranges and they consist of lowest peak and average height is 6,000 meters. Now the range, the core of the part of Himalaya is composed of granite. Now second one is Himachal or Lesser Himalaya, that lies south of the Greater Himalaya or south of the Himadri, and their altitude varies between 3,700 to 4,500 meters and its width is average width is 50 kilometers. And the most important ranges are Pir Panjal range, Dhauladhar, Mahabharat ranges, and they also have valleys like Kashmir, Kangra, Kulu. Okay, the Kulu is situated in the Himachal Pradesh, and they are well known for its hill stations also. Okay, and final one is Shivalik. They are the southernmost part or southernmost range, and the altitude varying between 9,000 and 1,100 meters. Okay, and the average width is 10 to 50 kilometers. And they also have dunes, especially Dara Dune, Kotli Dune and Patli Dune. These are example for dunes. Okay. Now, so this is the longitudinal division. Next one is the division from west to east. Okay, these divisions have been demarcated by river valleys. For example, The part of Himalayas lying between Indus and Sutlej has been traditionally known as Punjab Himalaya. Okay, so the Himalayas lying between Indus and Sutlej has been traditionally known as Punjab Himalaya, but it is also known regionally as Kashmir and Himachal Himalaya from west to east respectively. So where is Punjab Himalaya? Look at this picture. So this is this region, Indus and Sutlej. Okay. So between the Indus and Sutlej region, this is called Punjab Himalaya. Okay. This area is called Punjab Himalaya. Now, the part of the Himalaya lying between the Sutlej and Kali river is known as Kumaon Himalaya. Okay, so the first one is between Indus and Sutlej, that is called Punjab Himalaya, and next one is between Sutlej and Kali river, this is known as Kumaon Himalayas. Okay, so this part between, this is Indus, this is Sutlej, and next one Kumaon. Okay, so this part, okay, this part of Himalaya, this is Punjab Himalaya and this is Kumaon Himalaya. Okay, that is between Sutlej and Kali river. Okay, next one is the Kali and Teesta river demarcated the Nepal Himalayas, and the part lying between Teesta and Dihang river is known as Assam Himalaya. Okay, so the next one is the part lying between Kali and Teesta. Okay, so this is known as Nepal Himalaya. So this is Kali and this is Teesta. Okay, that is Nepal Himalaya. And next one is between Teesta and Dihang rivers is known as Assam Himalaya. Okay, between Teesta and Dihang river is known as Assam Himalaya. Okay, so that is the west to east division of Himalayas. Now, there are regional names also in these broad categories. The Brahmaputra mark the easternmost boundary of the Himalaya. So the easternmost boundary is the Brahmaputra, or boundary of Himalaya is Brahmaputra. Beyond the Dihang Gorge, the Himalayas bend sharply to the south and spread along to the eastern boundary of India. Okay, so beyond the Dihang Gorge, the Himalayas bend sharply to the south. Look at this picture. Here, the Himalayas bend sharply to the south. And this area, okay, this area is known as eastern, this is the eastern boundary of India, and this is known as Purvachal or Eastern Hill Mountains. Okay, so this area is known as Purvachal or the Eastern Hill. Now, these hills are running through the northeastern direction or northeastern states. They are mostly composed of strong sandstone, which are sedimentary rocks. Okay, so this area consists of strong sandstone and they are sedimentary rocks. They are covered with dense forest and mostly run parallel ranges and valleys. The Purvachal comprises of the Patkai Hills, the Naga Hills, Manipur Hills and the Mizo Hills. Okay, so the Purvachal comprises of the Patkai Hills, Naga Hills, Manipur Hills and the Mizo Hills. So that is the first physiographic division, that is Himalayan mountain. Second one is the northern plain. Look at this. The northern plain has been formed by the interplay of the three major river systems. Okay, we know the three major river systems that affect the Indian climate or India is called India are Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra. So they are the main reason for the formation of northern plain. Also their tributaries. This plain is formed of alluvial soil. The deposition of alluvium in a vast basin lying at the foothills of Himalaya over millions of years formed this fertile plain. It spread over an area of 7 lakh square kilometer. The plain being about 2,400 km long and 240 to 320 km broad. And it's a densely populated physiographic division. We already discussed about the discussed in 8th class, because why the plains are densely populated. So the region is very fertile, and that's why the people mainly stay in these regions. So the plains are 2400 kilometers long and 240 to 320 kilometers broad, and they are densely populated region. With a rich soil cover combined with adequate water supply and favorable climate, it is agriculturally a very productive part of India. The river coming from northern mountains are involved in depositional work. In the lower course, due to gentle slope, the velocity of the river decreases, and which result the formation of riverine islands. Okay, we know the Majauli in Assam. Okay, this is the largest riverine island caused by Brahmaputra. Now, the rivers in the lower course split into numerous channels due to the deposition of silt. These channels are known as distributaries. Okay, so the rivers then again split into numerous channels, and these are called distributaries. The northern plain is broadly divided into three sections. The western part of the northern plain is referred to the Punjab plains. Okay, so the westernmost part, and the western part is called Punjab plains, and formed by Indus and its tributaries. The larger part of this plain lies in Pakistan. Okay, so the Punjab plains are largely, or the large part of the Punjab plains are lies in Pakistan. The Indus and its tributaries, the Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias and Satluj, originate in the Himalaya. And this section of plain dominated by the Dobs. Okay, so this section is dominated by Dobs. That is the Punjab plain. Next, Ganga plain. The Ganga plain extends between Gaghar and Teesta rivers. It is spread over the states of North India and Haryana, Delhi, UP, Bihar, and partially Jharkhand and West Bengal. Okay, so that is Ganga plain. And the final one is Brahmaputra plain, that is particularly in Assam. Okay, so that is the classification of northern plain. It can be divided into three sections. The first one is Punjab plain, and large part of that is lies in Pakistan, and mainly it consists of Indus and its tributaries, that is the Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias and Satluj. The next one is Ganga plain, and that extends between Gaghar and Teesta river. It is spread over the states of North India, that is Haryana, Delhi, UP, Bihar, partially Jharkhand and West Bengal. And final one is Brahmaputra plain, and that is particularly in Assam. Now, the northern plains are generally described a flat land with no variations in relief. Okay, so we all assume that the northern plain is generally flat land, but this is not true. Okay, this concept is not true. These vast plains also have diverse relief features. According to the variations in relief features, the northern plains can be divided into four regions. Okay, so according to the variation in relief features, we can again classify this northern plain into four divisions. The rivers, after descending from the mountains deposit pebbles in a narrow belt around 8 to 16 km in width, lying parallel to the slopes of the Shivaliks. Okay, so after crossing the Shivalik region, the rivers deposit pebbles and in a narrow belt of around 8 to 16 km width. Okay, so this is called, or this region is called Babar. Okay, so this region below the Shivalik is known as Babar. All the streams disappear in this Babar belt. Next one is south of this belt, the streams and rivers re-emerge and create a wet, swampy and marshy region known as Terai. Okay, so the first region is Babar, that is the south of Shivalik. Then in Babar region, all streams disappear and all streams are disappear. Then the south of the Babar region, again the rivers are re-emerged and create a wet, swampy and marshy region, and this region is known as Terai region. And what is the specialty of this region? This was a thickly forested region, okay, and they have full of wildlife. The forests have been cleared to cut agricultural land and to settle migrants from Pakistan after partition. Okay, and also the Dudhwa National Park, that is situated in the UP. That's also a part of this region. Okay. Now, the largest part of northern plain is formed of older alluvium. They lie above the floodplains of the river and present a terrace-like feature. Okay, so they present like a terrace-like feature. And this part is called Bangar. So the first one is Babar, then Terai, and the third one is Bangar. The soil in this region contains calcareous deposits. Okay, the soil of this region, soil of the Bangar region contains calcareous deposits. So this is locally known as Kankar. Okay, because of the presence of calcareous deposit, this region is known as Kankar. The newer, younger deposits of the floodplains are called Khadar. Okay, so the final one is Khadar, that is the newer and younger deposits of floodplains. They are renewed almost every year and so are fertile and thus ideal for intensive agriculture. Okay, so they are renewed almost every year. So that's why they are very fertile soil and it is intensive for agriculture, ideal for the intensive agriculture. Next one is the Peninsular Plateau. The Peninsular Plateau is a tableland composed of the old crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks. Okay, so this is a tableland and that composed of crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks. It was formed due to the breaking and drifting of the Gondwana land and thus making it a part of oldest landmass. The plateau has broad and shallow valley and rounded hills. This plateau consists of two broad divisions, namely the Central Highlands and the Deccan Plateau. Okay, so the plateau have two broad divisions. The first one is Central Highlands and next one is Deccan Plateau. The part of the Peninsular Plateau lying to north of the Narmada River covering a major area of the Malwa Plateau. This is known as Central Highland. Okay, so what is Central Highland? It is the part of Peninsular Plateau and that lying to the north of Narmada River. Okay, so this region or this plateau is lying to the north of Narmada River and it covers a major area of the Malwa Plateau and this is known as Central Highland. The Vindhyan range is bounded by the Central Highland on the south and the Aravallis on the northwest. The further westward extension gradually merges with the sandy and rocky desert of Rajasthan. Okay, so the Vindhyan range is bounded by the Central Highlands on the south. Okay, so the south of the Central Highlands lies the Vindhyan range and the Aravallis on the northwest. The Aravallis lies the northwest and the further westward extension. Okay, then if you further westward extension gradually meets the deserts of Rajasthan. Okay, now the flow of the river draining this region, namely the Chambal, the Sindh, Betwa and Ken, is from southwest to northeast, thus indicating the slope. Okay, so these rivers are moving from southwest to northeast and this indicates the slope. The Central Highlands are wider in the west but narrower in the east. Okay, so they are wider in the west. The Central Highlands are wider in the west and narrower in the east. The eastward extension of this plateau are locally known as Bundelkhand and Bagelkhand. Okay, so the eastward extension is also known as Bundelkhand and Bagelkhand. Next one is Chota Nagpur Plateau. Chota Nagpur Plateau marks the further eastward extension drained by the Damodar River. The Deccan Plateau is the triangular landmass that lies to the south of River Narmada. Okay, so the Deccan Plateau is another important one that lies lies in a triangular landmass and it is south of River Narmada. The Satpura range flanks its broad base in the north while the Mahadev, Kaimur Hills and the Michael ranges from the eastern extension. Okay, so the Satpura range in the north and Mahadev, Kaimur Hills and the Michael range form its eastern extension. Now, the Deccan Plateau is higher in the west and slopes gently eastward. An extension of the plateau is also visible in the northeast, locally known as the Meghalaya and Karbi Anlong Plateau. Okay, so its extension in the northeast direction is locally known as Meghalaya and Karbi Anlong Plateau. It is separated by a fault from the Chota Nagpur Plateau and three prominent hill ranges from the west to east, that is Garo, Khasi and Jaintia hills can be seen there. Okay, so there are also three prominent hill ranges from west to east. They are Garo, Khasi and Jaintia hills. Now, the Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats mark the western and eastern edges of the Deccan Plateau respectively. Western Ghats lies parallel to the western coast and they are continuous and can be crossed through passes only. Okay, so the Western Ghats can be crossed through passes only. Okay, mainly the Talghat, Borghat and Palghat. So these are the passes in the Western Ghat. Okay, which are they? Talghat. Next, Borghat and Palghat. Okay. Now, the Western Ghats are higher than the Eastern Ghats. The average elevation is 900 to 1600 meters as against 600 meters of the Eastern Ghats. So, the Western Ghats are higher than Eastern Ghats. That is, their average elevation is 900 to 1600. But the Eastern Ghats have only 600 meters. The Eastern Ghats stretch from Mahanadi Valley to the Nilgiris in south. The Eastern Ghats are discontinuous and irregular and dissected by rivers draining into Bay of Bengal. Okay, so the Eastern Ghats are dissected by rivers mainly flowing into the Bay of Bengal. The Western Ghats cause orographic rain by facing the rain-bearing moist winds to rise along the western slopes of the Ghat. The Western Ghats are known by different local names. Okay, so the Western Ghats are known in Sahyadri in Maharashtra, then in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu it is known as Nilgiri Hills, and in Kerala the Anamalai and Cardamom Hills. Okay, so these are the different regional names of different local names of Western Ghats. Okay, Maharashtra, Sahyadri. Okay, Sahyadri, that's in Maharashtra. Next one is Nilgiri Hills. This is in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Then in Kerala, Anamalai, and Cardamom Hills. Okay, so that's in Kerala. Now, the height of the Western Ghats progressively increases from north to south. The highest peak including the Anamudi, that is 2695 meters, and the Doda Betta. Okay, so these are the highest peaks. First one is Anamudi, this is the highest peak in Western Ghat, and the Doda Betta. Now, Mahendragiri is the highest peak in the Eastern Ghat. Okay, so Anamudi is the highest peak in Western Ghat and Mahendragiri is the highest peak in the Eastern Ghats. Shero Hills and Javadi Hills are located to the south of Eastern Ghats. Okay, so the Javadi Hills and Shero Hills, they are located south of the Eastern Ghats. Now, one of the distinct features of the Peninsular Plateau is the black soil area known as Deccan Trap. Okay, so the Peninsular Plateau consists of mainly black soil. Okay, this is of volcanic origin, hence the rocks are igneous. So these are igneous rocks because they are their origin from volcanic region or volcanic activities. Actually, these rocks have denuded over time and are responsible for the formation of black soil. The Aravalli Hills lies on the western and northwestern margins of the Peninsular Plateau, and these are highly eroded hills and are found on broken hills. They extended from Gujarat to Delhi in the southwest and northeast direction. Okay, so the Aravalli extended from Gujarat to Delhi in the southwest, northeast direction. Okay. Now, Indian Desert. The Indian Desert lies towards the western margin of the Aravalli Hills. Okay, so the Indian deserts can be seen in the western margins of Aravalli Hills. It is an undulating sandy plain covered with sand dunes. This region receives very low rainfall, that is below 150 mm per year, that is only 150 mm per year. It has arid climate with low vegetation cover. Streams appear during the rainy season and soon they disappear. Luni is the only large river in this region. Okay, so the only large river in this region is Luni River. Now, Birchens. What is Birchens? They are the crescent-shaped dunes. Birchens cover large areas, but longitudinal dunes become more prominent near the Indo-Pakistan boundary. Okay, so the Birchens cover large areas, but the longitudinal dunes that become more prominent near the Indo-Pakistan boundary. Okay, so that's about the Indian desert. Next one is the coastal plain. The peninsular plateau is flanked by a stretch of narrow coastal strips running along the Arabian Sea on the west and the Bay of Bengal on the east. Okay, so the Arabian Sea is on the west and the Bay of Bengal on the east. The western coast, sandwiched between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea, is a narrow plain. It consists of 3 sections. The northern part of the coast is called Konkan, that is including the Mumbai-Goa region. And the central stretch is called Kannad Plain. And the southern stretch is referred as the Malabar coast. Okay, so the narrow plain between the Western Ghat and Western Ghat and Arabian Sea, that is consists of 3 sections, and the first one is, or the northern section is called Konkan between Mumbai and Goa. Then the central stretch, that is called Kannad Plain, and southern stretch is called Malabar coast. The plain along the Bay of Bengal are wide and level. Okay, so we discussed about the western region, that is West Arabian Sea region, that is narrow plain, but the plain along the Bay of Bengal is wide and level. The northern part, it is referred to as the Northern Sircar, while the southern part is known as the Coromandel coast. Large rivers such as Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and the Kaveri have framed extensive delta on this coast. Lake Chilika is an important feature along the eastern coast. Okay, so the Lake Chilika is an important feature or important lake in the eastern coast. Now, the last one is the islands. The country has 2 groups of islands. We know first one is Lakshadweep and next one is Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So, Lakshadweep. The Lakshadweep Islands group lying close to the Malabar coast of Kerala. This group of islands is composed of small coral islands. Okay, so these are coral islands. Earlier, they were known as Laccadive, Minicoy and Amnidive. But in 1973, these were named as Lakshadweep. It covers small area of 32 square kilometer, and Kavaratti Island is the administrative headquarters of Lakshadweep. So, Kavaratti is the administrative headquarters of Lakshadweep. This island group has great diversity of flora and fauna. The Piti Island, which is uninhabited, had a bird sanctuary. Okay, so the Piti Island have a bird sanctuary. The elongated chain of islands located in the Bay of Bengal that extended from north to south, and this is called Andaman and Nicobar, Nicobar Islands. So the first one is Lakshadweep, that is in the that is a group of islands lying close to the Malabar coast, and these groups of islands composed of small coral islands, and they were all early known as Laccadive, Minicoy and Amnidive. Then in 1973 they were known as Lakshadweep. Okay, so they are in the they are mainly seen in this Malabar coast of Kerala. Okay, and in the Arabian Sea. Now second one is called Andaman and Nicobar Islands. They are elongated chain of islands located in the Bay of Bengal. Okay, the Lakshadweep can be seen in the Arabian Sea, and Andaman and Nicobar Islands can be seen in the Bay of Bengal region or Bay of Bengal Sea. They are bigger in size and more numerous and scattered. The entire group of islands is divided into 2 broad categories: the Andaman in the north and the Nicobar in the south. Okay, so the entire island can be divided into or classified into 2 types: the Andaman in the north and the Nicobar in the south. It is believed that these islands are an elevated portion of submarine mountains. These islands groups are the great strategic importance for the country. There is great diversity of flora and fauna in this group. These islands lies close to the equator and experience equatorial climate. Okay, so these islands experience the equatorial climate, and so that's why they have a thick forest cover also. Okay, so that's about the Andaman and Nicobar Island. So the islands are of two types. First one is Lakshadweep, that's in Arabian Sea, and second one is Andaman and Nicobar Islands. They are in Bay of Bengal, and Lakshadweep Islands are coral islands. Andaman Islands are Andaman and Nicobar are submerged, or they are elevated portions of submarine mountains. Okay, and they are lies close to the equator, and they experience equatorial climate, and they have thick forest cover. Okay, so that's about the physiographic division or the classification of India. Okay, so first we discussed about the Himalayan mountains, then northern plains, then northern peninsula plateau, the Indian desert, coastal plains, and finally the islands. Okay, so these are the major physiographic divisions of India. Now, in conclusion, a detailed account of the different physiographic units highlights the unique features of each region. It would, however, be clear that each region complements the other and makes the country richer in its natural resources. The northern mountains are the major source of water and forest wealth. The northern plains are the granaries of the country. They provide the base for early civilization. The plateau is a storehouse of minerals which had played a crucial role in the industrialization of the country. Okay, so every part have its own specialities. The coastal region and island groups provide sites for fishing and port activities. Thus, the diverse physical features of the land have immense future possibilities of development. So that's all about this chapter. For more videos, do like, share, subscribe.